F you money. Make as much money as you damn well want and live your life as you damn well please, by Dan Lok. Let me tell you a story that'll stick with you. Picture this. It's 2 in the morning on a Saturday night. A young guy named Dan is dead asleep when his phone rings, shattering the silence. It's his aunt, and he can hear the tremor in her voice. "Dan," she says, "your father just had a stroke." Everything stops. Dan loves his dad more than anything, but they're living on opposite sides of the world. His father in Hong Kong, Dan in Canada. Memories come flooding in, tears start falling, and panic takes over. For the next 7 hours, he's pacing around like a caged animal, staring at his phone, imagining every nightmare scenario possible. Finally, the phone rings again. His aunt's voice, this time filled with relief. "Dan, your father is okay." He got lucky. A friend was there and rushed him to the hospital just in time. 30 minutes later? Well, we don't want to think about that. Dan lets out the biggest breath of his life. Then his aunt asks the question that changes everything. "Do you want to fly back and visit him? He'll want to see you." And right there, shame hits him like a ton of bricks. He has to admit something he never wanted to say out loud. "I really want to, but I just can't afford it. I don't have the money." He wasn't just broke, he was drowning in debt. He desperately wanted to be with his father, and his father wanted to see him, but money was standing between them like an impenetrable wall. In that gut-wrenching moment, Dan Lok made himself a promise. He swore he'd never be a slave to money again. Never again would his empty bank account dictate what he could or couldn't do. He was going to take control and make so much money that this nightmare would never repeat itself. That moment lit a fire that turned a broke immigrant who barely spoke English into a self-made multimillionaire. And that journey? That's what we're diving into today with FU Money by Dan Lok. Fair warning, this isn't your typical personal finance book. It's blunt, brutally honest, and uses language that might make your grandmother blush. But underneath that tough exterior is a powerful philosophy about wealth, freedom, and living life exactly the way you want. By the time we're done here, you'll see money in a completely different light. Not the slow, boring path they taught you in school, but a faster, more intentional way to build a life where you call all the shots. A life of real, no compromises freedom. So what the heck is FU Money anyway? The name is designed to grab your attention, maybe even make you a little uncomfortable, but it's not about being a jerk to people. It's a metaphor for having enough is enough money. The point where you've got enough to say no to anything that doesn't fit your life without any consequences. It's the freedom to walk away from a job that's crushing your soul. The freedom to fire a client who drains all your energy. The freedom to tell anyone who tries to control you, well, you get the picture. But here's the thing. It's not just about saying no. It's about the freedom to say yes. Yes to waking up naturally, without an alarm clock screaming at you. Yes to spending real quality time with the people you love, whenever you want. Yes to buying things, without that nervous glance at the price tag. Yes to traveling the world, picking up new languages, meeting fascinating people. Yes to dedicating your life to causes you actually care about, not just grinding for a paycheck. Dan calls this the point of true liberation. And if you don't know what this point is for you personally, you can spend your whole life chasing more and more, falling into a trap that even millionaires get stuck in. Get this. At one point, Dan's goal was just to make $50,000 a year. When he hit that, he thought, if I could just make $100,000, I'd be set. Then it was 200, then 500, then $1 million. The finish line just kept moving further away. It was never enough. Making money can become addictive, and if you're not careful, you fixate on the numbers instead of what those numbers are actually for. The real goal isn't to hoard money like a dragon sitting on gold. It's to design a life that makes you come alive. That's why Dan says you have to define what your ideal lifestyle actually costs. Not what society says it should cost, but what you truly want. It's about living according to your possibilities, not your limitations. This simple mental shift is where it all begins. But before we can even start this journey, we need to clear away the mental roadblocks, the myths about money that have been holding us back our entire lives. The most common one, the one you hear constantly, is that money can't buy happiness. Dan says this is complete nonsense, a lie broke people invented to make themselves feel better. He's been broke, and he's been rich, and trust me, he says rich is way better. It's not that money itself equals happiness, it's that money buys choices, it buys freedom, it buys time. As Dan puts it, money buys you the freedom to pursue happiness and personal growth, the freedom to help others, and the freedom to do whatever you want. Think back to that story about his father. What would he have given in that moment for the money to buy a plane ticket? Money can't cure a stroke, but it can put you on a plane to be by your dad's side when he needs you most. That's a form of happiness, isn't it? Here's a great way he puts it. Money is like sex. You'll think of nothing else if you don't have it, yet you're free to think of other things if you do have it. When you're constantly worried about paying bills, your mind is consumed by survival mode. You can't be generous when you're broke. You can't think about changing the world when you can't even save yourself. That's why Dan flips the old saying and says money is the root of all good. It's money that pays for your kids' education, the operation your mom needs, and the food on your table. The second myth is just as widespread. Rich people are jerks. The media absolutely loves this narrative because it makes everyone else feel better about not being wealthy. But Dan argues that money doesn't change who you are. It just amplifies what was already there. If you're a jerk, more money will just make you a bigger jerk. But if you're kind and generous, more money will make you even more generous. Think about it. Who's done more good for the world recently? The person complaining about rich people on social media? Or someone like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, who've donated billions to charity? You can't give back when you have nothing to give. Dan's mentor once told him, "Sure, there are rich people who commit suicide, but I'm pretty sure there are way more poor people who kill themselves. Money doesn't solve every problem, but it solves the money problems, and that frees you up to deal with everything else." Once we get past these mental blocks, we run into the biggest trap of all, the idea that you have to get rich slowly. This is the conventional wisdom you hear from every financial advisor out there. Work hard, save your pennies, live below your means, invest in mutual funds, and then one day, maybe when you're 65, you'll be able to retire, if you're lucky. Dan calls this plan absolutely insane. Why would you want to be poor your entire life, just so you can be rich for the last few years, when you're old and your body's falling apart? He asks a simple question. Do you want to travel the world when you're 65, or when you're 45? This get-rich-slow path isn't just painfully long, it's also incredibly risky. We've all seen what can happen to the stock market. People who played it safe for 40 years watched their retirement savings evaporate overnight. Safety is an illusion. The only sure thing you can bet on is yourself. So if the slow way is broken, what's the fast way? Dan explains there are two paths to financial freedom. The slow way is building a massive nest egg. For example, to have an income of $650,000 a year, you'd need a nest egg of $10 million, earning a 10% return. For most people, that feels completely impossible. But the fast way is different. It's about creating what he calls automated income vehicles, businesses that generate income without eating up your time. Instead of aiming for a $10 million nest egg, what if you focused on creating daily income? Let's do some math. That same $650,000 a year breaks down to about $1,780 per day. Still sounds like a lot, right? But what if you were selling a product online for $97 and you made $50 profit on each sale? To make $1,780 a day, you'd only need about 36 sales. That's just 1.5 sales per hour. Suddenly, that huge, intimidating number becomes manageable. It becomes actually achievable. And it doesn't take 40 years. It takes focus, strategy, and the right business model. This leads to another myth, that you have to be a penny-pinching cheapskate to get rich. Financial gurus tell you to cut up your credit cards and stop buying lattes. Dan's philosophy is the complete opposite. He says, it's easier to make more money than it is to spend less. He tells the story of his friends Mike and Andrea. They were struggling financially, earning a combined $50,000 a year. A financial guru told them to get on a tight budget, but that felt like a life of scarcity and deprivation. Instead of pinching pennies, they decided to focus on generating dollars. They invested $1,500 in a course to learn copywriting, a high-income skill. Just 3 years later, they were working from home on their own terms, earning over $250,000 a year. They didn't save their way to wealth, they learned their way to wealth. This is a fundamental shift. Don't focus on saving pennies, focus on creating dollars. This brings us to the core of Dan's philosophy, the FU money mindset. It all starts with taking 100% responsibility for your life. If your life isn't where you want it to be, he says, it's your own fault. This sounds harsh, but it's actually the most empowering belief you can adopt. As long as you're blaming the economy, your boss, your parents, or your circumstances, you're playing the victim, and victims have zero power. When you say, I am the cause of my situation, you also give yourself the power to be the solution. Your business is a reflection of you as the owner. If the business is failing, it's not because customers are cheap or the competition is fierce. It's because there's something you don't know yet. And that's actually okay, because you can learn. The second pillar of this mindset is having guts. You can't have the glory if you don't have the guts. Dan shares an incredible story about his friend, Peter Sage. Peter had just suffered a major financial crash and was starting over from nothing. He decided he wanted to move to Vancouver and buy his dream penthouse. He found the perfect place online. It was exactly what he'd envisioned. There was just one tiny problem. It cost $4 million, and he was broke. He called the real estate agent anyway. Turns out a sale had just fallen through, but he was now in a bidding war with other buyers. To secure it, he needed to put down a 10% non-refundable deposit, $400,000, within 24 hours. On top of that, because he wasn't a Canadian resident, he'd have to come up with another 25% in just a few months, or he'd lose the deposit. He had absolutely no idea how he was going to get the money, but he was completely committed. He refinanced his house, maxed out every credit card he had, and borrowed money from everyone he knew. He wired the deposit. He had burned his ships. There was no turning back. It was do or die. That intense pressure, that absolute commitment, forced him to get creative. Within weeks, he found a land deal, divided it up, and sold it to multiple buyers, making more than enough profit to cover the down payment. He got his dream home. This is what Dan means by guts. It's about committing to a goal that's so big, you can't even see the path to achieving it yet. If you can already see the entire path, he says, the goal is too small. This kind of courage requires a deep sense of self-worth. This is maybe the most controversial part of the book. Dan says you need to develop a, quote, carefully measured arrogance. Not ego for the sake of ego, but a profound self-confidence that comes from real competence. He says self-esteem is the foundation of all success. You have to believe you deserve wealth and success. If you have low self-esteem, you'll second-guess every decision and never get started. The best cure for low self-esteem? Success. And the fastest way to get success is to take action, even when you're not perfectly ready. Rich people make themselves do what they don't know how to do, until they know how to do it. Think of a kid learning to walk. They don't attend seminars or read instruction manuals. They just pull themselves up and try. They fall, they get bruised, but they get back up because they're determined to walk. That's the mindset you need. You can make money or you can make excuses, but you can't do both. So if you have the right mindset, what's the right vehicle? We've already seen that the fast way involves creating automated income. But what kind of business fits this model? Dan lays out 9 characteristics of an ideal business. This is a powerful checklist for anyone thinking of starting something new. 1. Do what you love, or at least something you're deeply interested in. Life's too short to do something just for money. 2. Stable, growing demand. Sell something people are already buying. Don't try to create a market from scratch. Serve an existing one. 3. Be portable. You should be able to run your business from anywhere in the world with just an internet connection. 4. High profit margin. Avoid low-margin businesses where there's no room for error. Dan won't even consider a business unless the profit margin is at least 100%. 5. Scalability. The business must have the potential to grow fast without just hiring more and more people. 6. Low startup cost. You should be able to start with a few $1,000s, not millions. This keeps you in control. 7. Requires little or no staff. Focus on your strengths and outsource your weaknesses. Dan runs a multi-million-dollar company with just 2 virtual assistants and a network of contractors. 8. Low overhead. Keep your business lean. He says to suck your business dry like a vampire. Pay yourself first and take profits out. Don't just endlessly reinvest everything. 9. Money coming in while you sleep. This is the ultimate goal. If your income is tied to the hours you work, you'll never have true freedom. As you go through this list, one type of business stands out as the perfect fit for all 9 criteria: an internet business. Dan is passionate about this. The internet, he says, is the easiest, fastest, and most certain way to create massive wealth in record time. It brought him his fortune, and he believes it's the ultimate FU money vehicle. So how do you actually do it? He breaks it down into 7 golden keys to internet riches. First, the market comes first. This is the biggest mistake people make. They fall in love with a product idea without first checking if anyone actually wants to buy it. You must find a market of people who are already spending money to solve a problem, and then create a solution for them. Second, create a simple website that sells. Your website isn't a brochure, it's a 24/7 virtual salesperson. Every single element, from the headlines to the buttons, must be designed to convert a visitor into a customer. Third, build a business, not just a moneymaker. A moneymaker is a short-term scheme. A business is an asset. It has a customer list, products, and a brand. Rich people don't just focus on making money. They focus on building assets that make them money. Fourth, create multiple income streams in one business. Don't chase 10 different business ideas at once. That's a recipe for disaster. Instead, pick one market and serve it deeply. Offer multiple products, services, and solutions to that one group of people. Fifth, leverage the time and resources of others. You only have 24 hours in a day. You can't do everything yourself. Outsourcing is the key to breaking free from the hours for dollars trap. Focus only on what you're great at and delegate or outsource everything else. Sixth, use your personality to sell. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. Don't hide behind a corporate logo. Be authentic. Tell your story, your successes, your failures, your flaws. As Dan says, facts tell, stories sell. He points to Tony Robbins and Robert Kiyosaki, who built entire empires around their personal stories. And finally, seventh, position your business for automatic growth. Use technology like autoresponders and automated systems to deliver value and make sales around the clock without your direct involvement. Find what works in your business and then build a system to repeat that process over and over again. This is the blueprint. It's the journey Dan took himself, from selling a single book out of his home to building a multi-million-dollar online empire that runs largely without him. It's a path that's available to anyone willing to learn the rules and, most importantly, take action. As we wrap up our journey through FU Money, it's worth taking a moment to reflect. Dan Lok's style is intentionally provocative. He uses strong language and an in-your-face attitude that can feel pretty intense. But if you can look past the delivery, you'll find a message of real empowerment. It's tough love from someone who genuinely wants you to break free from the mental and financial traps that hold so many people back. The most powerful lesson in this book, for me, is how Dan redefines wealth. Society teaches us to think of wealth as a number in a bank account, but Dan reframes it as freedom. The freedom to control your time, to live your life on your terms, and to make choices based on your values, not your financial limitations. This is a much more inspiring and meaningful goal to chase. Another critical idea is that your business must serve your life, not the other way around. So many entrepreneurs build a business only to discover they've created a prison for themselves, a high-stress job where they happen to be the boss. Dan's framework of the 9 characteristics of an ideal business is a brilliant tool for designing a business that supports your ideal lifestyle from day one. It forces you to ask the right questions before you invest your precious time and energy. Finally, the relentless focus on taking 100% responsibility is a message everyone needs to hear. In a world where it's so easy to blame external factors for our lack of success, this book serves as a powerful reminder that our destiny is in our own hands. It's not about blame, it's about empowerment. The moment you stop making excuses is the moment you reclaim your power to change your life. So how can you start applying these ideas today? Here are a few simple actions. First, figure out your magic number. Take the annual income you want to make, divide it by the number of hours you plan to work in a year, and then multiply that by 3. This is your target hourly worth. Write this number down and put it somewhere you'll see it every day. From now on, before you do any task, ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now worth this much per hour? This single question will radically change how you manage your time. Second, identify one low-value task you do regularly. Maybe it's mowing the lawn, grocery shopping, or cleaning your house. This week, make a plan to delegate it. Pay someone else to do it. The small cost will free up your most valuable asset, your time, to focus on activities that can actually generate income and move you closer to your goals. And third, take a few minutes right now and write down what your FU money lifestyle looks like. Be specific. What do you do when you wake up? Where do you live? Who do you spend your time with? What problems do you solve? Having a clear vision is the first step to making it reality. That was a summary of FU Money by Dan Lok. We've touched on the big ideas today, but a summary is like looking at a photograph of a beautiful landscape. It gives you a sense of its grandeur, but it can never replace the experience of actually being there. The real power of this book is in the way Dan's unfiltered voice challenges your deepest beliefs about money, work, and life. If anything we've talked about today has sparked something in you, if it made you feel a little uncomfortable or a little inspired, then I encourage you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning, it's an experience that can fundamentally shift how you see yourself and the possibilities for your future. You can find a link to the book in the description below. Also, if you found this summary valuable, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book from the Billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep learning and growing together.